Hey everybody, Mark Fissel here with Everest Group. Thanks for joining. I'll introduce the other two colleagues that are here with me in a split second. But that opening video that you just saw, we're a little bit of a pop-up live stream here to talk about Everest Group Engage, our inaugural conference for global business services, sourcing, procurement, vendor management leaders, tech services leaders, and my colleagues again, who I'll introduce in a second, we decided to do this pop up because we've been really engaged, pardon the pun, in finalizing the content and some of the experiences for the conference that's happening September 30th to October 2nd in Dallas, and we wanted to share some of our excitement. So to join me are two of the conference chairs for Engage, Amy Fong, who is a partner and leads our sourcing and vendor management practice, developing a bunch of the content on that side of the agenda. Amy, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. And Rohiteshwar Agarwal, a partner in our Global Business Services GBS practice, who works with clients around the world in guiding them on their GBS and GCCs and all that good stuff. Rohit, thank you for joining as well. So we're going to dialogue a little bit. Again, a little bit of a pop-up. Pardon me if I get too excited and too in the weeds on some certain things, but let me share with you a little bit about what Engage is all about. I mentioned September 30th to October 2nd. Everest Group has been advising on clients in GBS, in sourcing, in procurement, in these things for many, many, many years. And we've been asked for many, many, many years, why don't we have events to provide them some of that guidance? Engage is that event. And we're really excited about Engage because from September 30th to October 2nd in Dallas, we're going to be joined by a couple hundred corporate leaders in those functions to really get a professional, educational, and really deep dive networking experience facilitated by Everest Group. So a bunch of external thought leadership, a bunch of proprietary Everest Group thought leadership, and a bunch of input and insight from other external experts from the provider universe, from academia, etc. Really, ultimately, our goal here with the conference is to provide all of our corporate attendees, those practitioners in these, with a meaningful set of action items and a meaningful set of guidance that they can walk away from the conference with to take back to their colleagues at the office to think about their strategic planning for 2025, some of their operational planning for immediately, to again, meaningfully improve or meaningfully strengthen some of their existing strengths across that GBS, sourcing vendor management spectrum. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of the event and the theme, and then I promise I'm going to talk, turn it over to Amy and Rohit, who can talk a bit more about some of the things that they're excited about. From a structural standpoint, go ahead, take a look at the agenda. Over the course of 2.5 days or so, we've got a phenomenal blend of main stage keynotes where we're going to be getting some of that sort of forward-looking thought leadership, but also meaningful insight and guidance from practitioners, from some Everest Group colleagues, from some third-party speakers as well. On the topics as we've shared. The most important thing between the keynotes and the breakouts and some of the other session formats is we've built a conference theme called the Pragmatic Edge. And the Pragmatic Edge for us is that important sort of inflection point of actionability, practicality, things that you can actually move the needle on when it comes to action items and steps that you can take. An edge, and you'll see, as you can see on the screen here, the edge is your definition of your boundary of success, your leading capabilities. So no matter where you are in your organizational journey for yeah, some of your GBS practices or some of your vendor management, stakeholder management practices, we're going to help you, and this conference is going to help you identify and define what pragmatic means for you, what edge means for you, and how to push that needle forward. Encourage you to check out a little bit more about how we position that and some of the broad content. But as I mentioned, Amy and Rohit are the conference chairs from our research practice who have done the heavy lift of identifying the best possible speakers, the best possible content, the best possible topics to make sure that all those folks that join us on site for those couple of days walk away with more than they bargained for. And so, really want to hear a little bit from Amy and Rohit about what they're thinking in terms of some of the highlights and key things. So, Amy, if I could sort of turn it to you, just would love to hear as you've been working on these different session formats and all that good stuff. What are some things that you're looking forward to? What are some things that our attendees in the sourcing and vendor management roles should be looking forward to? Um, would love to hear some of your thoughts.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. I am as excited as you are about this. You know, I love going to events and getting out and talking to people that have sort of the passion and the same goals that I do. And I'm happy to have one that I can host and get people exposed to all of the amazing content we have. We will have our analyst team there, some really smart people on topics that I know are super high value to sourcing people. We will have some guests from the industry, some speakers, and from various companies, as well as some who I just think are kind of legends in the procurement and vendor management space. So I'm going to, at risk of going through the entire agenda, you all can get that from the link and you can read a lot more about it and see the structure and the formats. But so the MVPs that I have that I think are probably going to be the most popular. First of all, pricing. Everyone cares about pricing. There's not a sourcing or a VMO leader who don't care about how they get more commercial success, whether that be lower rates or better SLAs or just writing a contract that helps you integrate Gen AI in 3 years from now, right? So we're all thinking about that. There is a masterclass first day, Monday, first thing, get you kicked off with our commercial solutions team, partners that know a lot more than I do about this and have lived and breathed contracting and negotiations. So if you want high ROI just right off the bat, that's the place to go. It's a workshop, which means it'll be, you know, real pragmatic takeaways, right? You should leave there with some things to think about. And I think I will say, you know, anecdotally, I sit in a lot of sessions with them and they are on top of the market in terms of where things are going commercially. So high value, and you know that's the kind of content you can't just read on a blog on the internet. Next one, I'm going to say most transformational. I had to pick three, so this was really hard. I think the session that Don Tura from SIG is hosting with Ed Hansen is going to be super interesting. Both of those, I mentioned industry veterans. They've both been around the block for a couple decades, like myself. I've known them for a long time. Ed has a legal background, super smart guy, but also does a lot of transformational work. And the topic here is how you drive meaningful change through outsourcing. Every company that outsources wants to have an impact, right? You're not doing it. No one's doing this in 2024 for labor arbitrage cost savings. There's a lot of other reasons. You're trying to change the way your organization works. We see engagements fail to realize the value that was intended all the time. In chatting with Ed, we actually kind of shaped this because he's got a lot of good stories. And I would say not just war stories, but the what should you do, the, you know, how do you get to the edge of value and how do you do that reasonably? Dawn's got decades. She's just a smart person who can have a great conversation and I'm sure has her own perspectives because she works with all kinds of sourcing and vendor management teams across all kinds of companies. So I'm particularly excited about this one because I'm going to be in the audience watching them speak. And even a conversation with them is always fun. They're the people that you want to have a drink with after, right? Which you can do because we will have time for that.
Mhm.
Third one on my MVP list is going to be the hot topic roundtables. Roundtables in general, because we go to these things to network, right? So rather than just having networking over meals, we're going to have planned roundtables. You can pick a topic that you're interested in, and you can also pick one for your industry. So we'll have industry roundtables based on the people who are attending and some of our specialists in industries like banking or insurance or healthcare payers, life sciences. Those will be hosted roundtables with our partners, as well as participants from your industry. But even more interesting should be some of the hot topics. I know we have one on Gen AI and procurement. Can't tell you in two hands how many people have been interested and talked to us about Gen AI and procurement, and it's changing quickly. So we'll have some practitioners who are living and breathing that to share what they're doing. I've hosted a bunch of roundtables on that at actually at SIG events throughout the year with Dawn, and it's always an interesting conversation, and the story changes every 2 months. So that those I think are going to be the highest value if you're coming to the event that you're going to walk away with, probably the most popular sessions. There's about 10 more that I could name, but I don't want to play
Yeah,
favorites amongst the Everest Group analysts, the partners. They're all my peers. They all have great things to say. So hopefully you'll be able to go to the whole, our sourcing attendees or our VMO attendees will be able to go to the whole track of sourcing and vendor management content. Um, Rohit's got equally exciting things planned for the GBS audience, so I'll let him give his opinion as well.
yeah, Tashwa, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Amy. Thanks, Mark. And Mark, thanks for pulling me in at a rather short notice, I should say. But
Yeah.
it's a beautiful summer evening. I'm not complaining. I also saw most of the people who are dialing in and commenting are from places in US. So I'm dialing in from London. If anybody is live listening in from other parts of the world, do tell us where you're dialing in from. And based on what you have heard, if you particularly like something or you think you would want to see something, do make a comment on that as well.
Indeed.
Uh, but Mark, it's been super satisfying, working with you, Amy, others in the team to put this event together. And I think about a decade ago, when we started doing more of the targeted roundtables for our GBS clients, which were done either virtually or more locally,
Mm.
we saw the value, we created for our clients, creating that safe environment to exchange, interact, and learn. At the same time, there was always this demand to do this at a larger scale, to interact with people across locations, across industries, across different maturity of organizations, because we were always more targeted, and even across stakeholder groups, right? We are increasingly seeing a blend of hybrid sourcing models. So the GBS stakeholders, the SVM stakeholders, or the even the customer experience management stakeholders, they need to work together more than ever before.
Yeah.
Hence, a lot of it coming together. It's very exciting to see different client groups that we serve to kind of come together under one roof over these couple of days of action-packed, insightful discussions. Uh, Taking a cue from Amy, if I have to pick three topics that I'm most excited about, and not to say I'm excited about each one of them, but if I have to pick three, I'll talk about, and I'll encourage all our attendees who run or plan to run a GBS organization, get in there on day one, September 30th, for the workshops we have planned. And no other than Deborah Cops, who knows probably more than anybody else about GBS in the world. So she's running one of her absolute, favorite workshops on stakeholder engagement. Uh, there is a lot of flux in the world right now, on many different factors, and global leaders are continuously struggling to keep up and deliver value and optimize. And in that process, while you do what you do, managing your stakeholders is an extremely critical priority, and there's no one better to learn it from and to interact about on the topic than Deborah Cops. So I'll encourage everyone to be here. This is again an interactive session. Of course, Deborah shares from all the decades of best practices and learnings she has and observations she has made. But there's also going to be conversation in the room, people wanting to learn from each other. So that's going to be fantastic. We've got some other workshops as well. But the second session I'll talk about is something we'll do next day, wherein there is always a conversation that the GBS model's worth is well proven. Everybody knows they deliver value, they deliver quality, they deliver services at scale. But there has been a pivot where mature companies provide value beyond that, and they are becoming really strategic to global enterprises. And in that context, we will have some really good practitioners. We'll have Rob Bradford representing Kimberly Clark, and then decades of experience from the industry. We will have Angela, who leads Mars GBS, and again, one of the senior most practitioners in the industry. So talk about how can leaders unlock greater value from GBS organizations. Deborah, of course, again is part of that panel as well. This is not only a theoretical discussion. We are seeing real life examples of this. So, what we plan to bring to life during the discussion is where exactly has this happened? How do companies capture, articulate, benchmark this, and use it to create, to uplift the
Yeah.
role that this entity plays, as a whole. And lastly, I'll talk about something that Everest Group co-created with Deborah a few years ago, and we have implemented it for many clients. And this is a really new decision-making framework for GBS. We call it Work Fingerprints, and we are bringing a couple of our clients for whom we have implemented this. So we'll have Deepa, who leads the North America GBS for Kraft Heinz. We will have Deanna, who leads the Kellanova GBS. So we really wanted a couple of practitioners who have actually implemented these frameworks and found success, found value, to talk about this and share the entire decision-making framework with our attendees. There are a lot of other topics that I can talk about, Mark, but I know, I don't want to be occupying all the talk time. So I will pause here. But again, the entire 3 days, as Amy was talking about, are action-packed. There are going to be a lot of roundtables specific to industry-specific leadership groups, people who align on some same hot topics. There are other themes where people will find common ground. So really excited and looking forward to this, Mark.
Yeah, and Rohit, I appreciate, who else is excited, right? Our pop-up LinkedIn Live here. Whoever it is enjoying the UK summer evening, the youngster behind you somewhere in the background is also excited about Engage.
Rohit's got a new
And
baby, so I feel like he should bring the baby on the screen because
yeah,
Papa.
and I can't, hopefully nobody can hear it. Also unplanned, there is literally a wood chipper running in the yard next to mine as we speak. So the beauty of modern day live streams. But one thing that you both called out that I want to focus on before we let people go is that all of the content, whether it's some of the external speakers like you mentioned, Deepa and Angela and Rob and Dawn and Ed, or some of the networking roundtables or workshops, all of this content has been developed with your input and expertise, but also our advisory board, who guided us on the most important topics that they want to hear for them and their teams, and our corporate practitioners themselves feeding back via survey, et cetera. So where Amy talked about some of the networking topics and industry roundtables that we're going to do, that's all guided by the attendees and will continue to be guided by the attendees right up until the event. So we're going to make sure that everything that we're doing at the event is as real time as it can be for all of you, to really make sure, again, that you maximize the value. Um, and I think one last thing I'd say, and then I'll give it to Amy and Rohit if they have any parting sort of wisdom or comments. Um, from a FOMO perspective, why should you attend Engage? What will you miss if you don't attend this event? I would simply say engagement is Everest Group's superpower. It's something that we talk about all the time as a company, and it's something that we focus on. We roll up our sleeves in every way imaginable, and we spend the time and effort engaging with our clients in the ways that most benefit them and are most contextualized to them. And I'm just excited to be a part of a conference that's going to do that for 2.5 days in Dallas from September 30th to October
Yeah.
2nd. Amy, yeah,
Yeah,
jump in.
yeah. I'm gonna laugh a little at the engage because I talk to non-clients all the time, and when I talk about how we work with our clients and how we prioritize, like, talking, getting our analysts talking to companies in our membership programs. I don't have to talk about our competitors because I have other prospects tell me that there are others out there where it's just a portal of research and reports, and they're just downloading, and it takes them 3 weeks or a month to get an
Yep.
analyst conversation. I don't have to say that. I'm told it probably in every call. um, I think where we really differentiate is that we're consultative and we have a great foundation of intellectual property, right? So with that, we consider ourselves highly engaging, and we help with decision making, right? That's kind of the DNA of our analyst team and our leadership team. And so when we were working on the name for this conference, if anyone's curious where it came from, like, somebody threw out engage, and we were like, well, duh, that's like our DNA, right? So the fact that it says engage, we keep accidentally using that word in a sentence, to
Hmm.
describe the way that we work or what we want to do or what we're looking forward to. Like, it's no accident. That is like a core belief for us. So if the question, getting back to it, was, what do I think is going to be the most exciting, piece of this? It is that this is going to be an engaging conference. You have peers, you have expert analysts, that we're bringing from all over the world to have these conversations directly one-on-one versus doing it over. We all love that we can do this on video conference with our kids and our yard work in the background, but doing that face to face is, we know, right, it's 1,000 times better and more valuable. And we have experts from our friends in the industry who can come in and educate and help everyone there take it up a notch. So I am excited. I'm going to be punny, and I'm going to say I'm excited about the engagement of Engage, because I think that's really what it's all about for us and what we kind of envision as the best part of this event.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, Rohit, I'll see if you've got anything as well, but we have had a couple additional joiners. If anybody wants to ask us any questions about any other parts of the agenda or anything that they might expect from the event, feel free to hit us in the chat. And since it is a pop-up, and since we've done a little bit of selling of the value of Everest Group there, I might as well throw in an offer for some of our for some of the leaders out there to join us in Dallas. So there's probably an offer coming up here that I'll put in the comments for a discount off the ticket price. Again, we want to have you folks join us. Anything that we can do to help you make the decision that this is an event that you must attend. Don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. One other thing before I give it to you again, Rohit, there is one of the other things that we've heard, and I think Rohit mentioned it in talking about the session, where Angela and Rob are going to be really focused on on some of the value drivers and some of the key metrics from their GBS operations. We also have an external keynoter joining us, former editor of Fast Company magazine, Bob Safian. He's going to be actually doing a main stage keynote. He has a podcast called Rapid Response Masters of Scale. He interviews CEOs from Fortune 100, Fortune 500, Global 1000 companies all day long, and sort of asks them of their key priorities, their focus areas. Really excited to have that keynote later on in the day, on day 2 of the conference, Tuesday, providing the CEO's perspective on what the CEO and the board sort of expectations are from some of the value driving leaders in sourcing and vendor management in GBS, et cetera. That's going to be a good session. A bunch of other good sessions as well. But we have this blend of Everest Group proprietary insight and education, of practitioner sort of insight and experience, and then third-party guidance to help to provide this, really well-rounded experience. Rohit, not sure if there's anything else that you want to throw out there that either excites you or a FOMO or anything like that.
So you and Amy have covered a fair bit of ground, so you have made it tough, but I'll try. So the very quickly, three things I'll say, that really make this a necessary, event in my view, for leaders, to attend is one. We can always learn a lot of concepts. We can always find a lot of data, but hearing practitioners talk through why it matters to them, where it mattered to them, and how did they, what worked for them, what did not, and how it helps the decision making and progress. That's important. So, that's kind of one thing. And we have, I think what I love is Mark, Everest Group, we're a company full of analysts and everybody's an expert in their own area. But what I love is that we were able to, uh, you know, uh, uh, have an agenda where we are dominated by practitioners, and then Everest Group kind of supporting that versus driving that. I love that part. Second, I'll say is a lot of our clients are often restricted, and they are talking to people within their own organizations or at best within their own industries or localities. So this event allows for that cross-industry, very global environment. So we have insurance, banking, financial services, healthcare, uh, CPG, technology. We have, a lot of Fortune 100 companies, but then many more from Global 1000 attending across these industries. So there is a lot to be learned and inspired from other industries as well. I think that's really powerful from what we have seen in some of the other smaller similar engagements we have facilitated. And the third part I'll say is going back to what Amy said, why pragmatic edge, about the theme, is that these are not just concepts on paper. The the topics, that Mark, you've kind of worked with the team to put in the agenda. I think each of these speak to a real problem that these
Yeah.
leaders who this is relevant for are facing day to day or will face very quickly. And so some of these solutions are not something which is just nice to know content, but these are insights that they can take back to their organizations and start applying from next day. And I'm sure that everybody will find something of value, in the near term and then more so in the longer term. So yeah, those are my, if you may put say those so the selling points,
Yep.
to request our
Yep.
community to make time for this, and really really looking forward to this.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say, I can't thank you two and the rest of our colleagues enough for all of your thought, interaction, preparation for the conference. All of our attendees are really going to be wowed with the well-rounded content and networking experiences that they're going to get. And it takes a lot of effort to put on premium best-in-class conferences. Can't wait to welcome all of our attendees. And a brief shout out of thanks to the very limited number of strategic service provider sponsors that we've invited to the event to put on a best-in-class event like people are going to experience. So as it says in the little chat banner at the bottom, if you're an existing Everest Group client, reach out to your client director to see if you're eligible for a complimentary tickets. Really hope to see you all there September 30th, October 2nd in Dallas. And don't hesitate to reach out to anybody on the Everest Group team with any questions or anything that we can do to help you make this event that no-brainer must attend for you. Amy, Rohit, Toshwa, thanks again for your time and effort, and hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. See
See
you
ya.
in Dallas.